What's up, people? All right, taking a walk. I'm just thinking while I'm on this walk about how I decided to step out and just start creating content, get out of my own way. And I've learned a couple things this week that I really want to share. And a lot of this came from like some realizations. Sorry if the lighting is crazy because the sun is behind me, but look, here we are. And the road is next to me. So I don't know how this audio is going to turn out, but we'll see. So the thought is, first, I learned that, let me back up. I went to a networking event on Thursday. And at this networking event, I was able to connect with some creators who are really doing some amazing things, creators and entrepreneurs, to be exact. Um, I'm looking at how this video is bouncing. Y'all gonna be sick of me. But at any rate, I'm committing. We're gonna get this done. So the conversation that I had with one creator, her name is Cola, and she actually has a podcast that was done with a local affiliate of NPR. And so she says to me that part of what made the difference between when she was doing things on her own and when she actually started scaling her efforts was that, and like got the partnership with NPR, is that the quality and the input that she put into her show was just drastically different. She talked about how she was scripting and she put more thought and facts and content prep and development into the process. So I think something that I'm taking away from that part of the conversation is really being intentional about the quality and the quantity. And perhaps the quality doesn't necessarily have to be, for me, so overthought in post-production, because Lord knows that's where I need the most help. But really dialing in the process when it comes to scripting and prepping. And I'm even seeing that the parallels, like how I can set myself up for success at work. Like I've noticed that if I set up a meeting, I'm going to draft an agenda, like really almost like put so much content on the front end in the calendar invite. So that way, when we're having the discussion and even asking people to come prepared with certain details or facts and information, like it helps the conversation go exponentially further than it being a collection of people talking about the idea at hand with no prep work. So that's just one thought. Next, I would have to say I have this observation and thought around done is better than perfect. And it actually stems from the same conversation with Cola. Like just trying to get it just perfect is the thing, especially for me, that gets me. Like I can book a guest when it comes to podcasting, I can create the content, but sometimes like getting it over the finish line is there seems to be such a barrier that I have with that, because it's like, oh, it's not perfect. It's not what I wanted to be, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm learning, I just got to get out of my own way. So there's that. I think that there are some other lessons that I've picked up. Sorry, I'm being nosy because one of my neighbors has like this dope setup for his tools, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So yeah, another lesson that I think I'm learning is that there is a difference between those who aspire and those who execute. And I think it's in the name. Like, you can aspire to do a lot of things. You can come up with ideas, I live in the land of ideation. Um, like you can come up with so many cool concepts and all this kind of stuff. But at a certain point, you got to send the text. At a certain point, you have to send the email, you got to pitch. And I think that there are pieces to this where I find myself kind of like, I really don't, I really don't know if I want to put so much effort and time into something and one, not hear back or hear a no. But at the end of the day, it only takes one yes. And it reminds me of when we were recently trying to sell our house. The market was way tougher this time around than we um when we sold our house in like 2020 or 2021. And it was like multiple showings. It got to a point where people would view the house and then like would say the crazy stuff like, oh, well, we wanted a basement. They're like, it didn't have a basement when you looked at the listing, you know? Um, or, just all kinds of buyer preferences and all this kind of stuff. And so you end up having to clean the house and it's like, you feel like you can, lick the floor because it's so clean. And then you do all this effort only for a rejection. And you start to internalize it and think, oh my God, like, I mean, at a certain point, this is just a waste, And um it dawned on me that my agent said this, and it really speaks to this season as well when it comes to pitching and putting myself out there and like just trying to crush it both at work and in my entrepreneurial journey. It's like it only takes one yes. And that's really the space that I'm living in. Like it only takes one yes. And that yes is the game changer. That yes is the difference between all the other no's that you've been getting and the effort that you've been putting in. Like it's so worth it and it will be worth it. You just have to, you just gotta handle the inputs, the, create the pitch, develop and cultivate the relationships, reach out, follow up. And I will say that is something that I'm learning. It's kind of because in the back of my mind, sometimes I'm like, ooh, am I being too pushy or, am I possibly annoying people? All kind of stuff. Um, but I'm realizing like you gotta be comfortable with the idea that when you pitch, sometimes you might not hear back. And you gotta be comfortable enough to just follow up and almost sometimes I'm learning too is follow up out of a point of confidence and not out of desperation. Follow up because you know the value that you're looking to create in the marketplace or with your project or what the partnership might be or, whatever you're working on. And with you knowing and believing in what you are doing, I think innately you're going to put yourself in a position to where you are going to follow up and say it in a way that it doesn't come across like you're a snake oil salesman or, no shade to them or even used car salesmen because, y'all get a bad rap. People just be throwing y'all name around like that. Gotta put some respect on the used car people. But all that being said, there are lessons to be learned there. And the follow up, I've heard people say it this way. They're like, the fortune is in the follow up. And so sometimes in order to close, in order to complete, get it across the finish line, you got to follow up because people get busy. They have other things going on. I know I've been, I've been there sometimes, even through like a hiring process when we're hiring people, um, you kind of, you just get busy with the work and it doesn't mean that the need to hire isn't there and, or that the candidate isn't great. It's just that, oh man, the week got crazy And I thought I was gonna reach out on Tuesday. It's Thursday afternoon, might be even be Friday, but you know what? This person followed up. And you know what I love too when people do this, and I'm gonna start doing it a bit more, is that I'll say, or they'll say to me, "Oh, hey, you should hear from me by this time. If you don't, I wouldn't be offended if you sent me a nice reminder or a nudge or something like that." I think that is gold, and I think that's something that we should do way more of. Now, if you don't want people to be following up, I think that we also need to be very clear that a conversation isn't going anywhere, because there's nothing worse than having people expel energy, effort, all the above, and we have no intention of moving forward. In the relationship world, it's like leading people on. Uh, and there's no need to do that. I think clarity is king. We can be clear and kind and say, "Hey, you know what? I thank you so much for reaching out. This isn't something I'm interested in, or this isn't something I want to move forward with at this time, but I'm happy to just keep the conversation or keep the line of communication open in case there is something at a later time." That's it. Um, I feel like I've gotten on such a tangent here, but lessons that I've learned, um, I think those three plus those sub bullets, uh, I think for right now are good enough for this video. Thank you for walking with me. If you have, and if you're watching this far, if you got some things that you want me to cover, or if you got questions that you want me to answer, drop them in the comments, and I can figure out how to cover that in the next video. But right now, this channel is going to be what it is right now, and that is it's kind of like me building in public, me showing all this content and my interest around like personal development, uh, at the intersection of like entrepreneurship and elevating lifestyle leadership and influence. And I'm excited. I'm working on some stuff right now, and I want to talk about it so bad. But if I talk about it, then number one, I need to keep my mouth shut. But I'm alluding to this moment right now because let me zoom out because I'm going to have to repurpose this part of the video. I'm working on something right now that I feel like is going to set up the next chapter of my career. And I'm beyond excited about it because it's proof positive that your career can have a second act and you can do something you've never done before. And all it takes is being bold enough to start a conversation. And I literally cannot wait to share the fruition of this. It might be quite some time from now, but um, I'm documenting it because it needs to be said. And I can't wait to use this portion of the video. And you're watching this now. And soon, when we get to the other side and see the result of this chapter of the seeds that we're planting, you're going to be like, "Oh my God." And in the meantime, I think you're probably working and you're building. And so like, I want to check out what you got going on. If you're building a digital business, drop the URL below. I would love to check it out. Early stage founders, creators, all the above. This channel can really be a community for just all of us to gather, connect, and share stories about how we're growing and developing. And yes, it's me talking, but it's also us meeting in the comments to really just have that sense of community. Yeah. So this video is like almost 15 minutes long. I think that's enough. But thank y'all for joining me. I cannot wait until we get. I was about to say, I can't wait till we get to the other side of this chapter, but this is like, these are the good days the good old days in the making. And Yeah, so it's gonna be awesome. So yeah, thank y'all for joining me. See you in the next video.